The 365 Pro Wrestling. Welcome everybody to the 365 Pro Wrestling Podcast. It is January 17th, and that means in just 1 week, we ignite in Kitchener, Ontario at the Registry Theatre. The next night, we're in Guelph at the Red Chevron, so if you need tickets, check out 365prowrestling.com. Right now, we're going to talk to none other than magnificent Nicky Martin. Alright everybody, so I'm joined right now by magnificent Nicky Martin. Nicky, how's it going today?
It's going well, man. How you doing?
Awesome. I'm enjoying the day and happy you got to join us.
Myself as well.
So everyone I know knows you for one reason and one reason only. Not because you're a manager or promoter or because of this reason or that reason. It's because of the laugh. Now, what got you doing the laugh in the first place?
You know what, to be honest, the first show that we ever did for MCW, I was really, really nervous. So I went out and I was just trying to, get a personality going, try and connect with the fans. And I forget what happened, but something happened and it was actually funny. So I started laughing and then somebody actually mimicked it. So I'm like, hey, maybe I've got something here. So I tried to, get that going. And I'd go home and I'd sit in front of the mirror and just try to laugh. And then finally got something that I could work with. And here we are.
And it's definitely unique. Some managers have canes or tennis rackets or had the urn, and now you have the laugh. So is that something you want everyone to know is part of you?
You know what? I mean, if it's something that people remember, I always want to try and give somebody something to remember. Like fans are always spending their hard-earned money to come and watch. So if they can, enjoy themselves and be like, hey, that guy, I don't know what his name was, but that laugh was pretty cool. And I think that's pretty awesome if they remember me for that.
For sure. Anytime you can make a connection is a good thing. So what got you into pro wrestling? What made you become a manager?
Bobby Heenan, the brain. I mean, I grew up watching, mid 80s to early 90s wrestling, and he was on prime time. And I turned there one day, and I think it was the most obscure match ever. It was like, oh my goodness, one of the Islanders against, I think it was Morocco, which
Nice.
is my namesake, actually, for obvious reasons. But he came on after that match, and Gorilla Monsoon made a joke, and Bobby Heenan just went to town. And I'm like, man, this is like the best thing ever. So every time he was on, I just started to really kind of watch his mannerisms and watch what he was doing. And then when I finally had a chance to, get into this, thanks in part to you, I really wanted to try and, mimic Bobby and try to model myself after him.
And one of those ways is also through your MCW Weekly Show. Or it's not a weekly show right now, but it's going to be a weekly show. Can you tell the fans more about that?
Yeah, so basically what we're trying to do is we're trying to just, let people know about our events and let people know about our roster and what we do for the community of Brantford. And we started out doing the magazine. And basically what it is it's a YouTube show. We do kind of a little bit of a play on prime time where, we get together and we talk about the shows and we talk about what's going on as far as storylines. With MCW, we do, roughly about 4 shows a year. So in between that, I wanted something to be able to let the fans, keep current on what was going on and keep things hot. So being able to talk about it and talk about, the fact that we've got DVDs coming out and, what's upcoming, some of the stories that are going on. That's the main goal of what the magazine was about. Plus it's fun and, we're giving the fans a chance to kind of see a little bit behind the scenes of how our personalities actually are.
For sure, and that's what I was thinking about it because the whole Bobby and Gorilla thing, that's how you guys are kind of have the same relationship yourselves.
Somewhat, it's good chemistry because a lot of people don't know. Phil Gordon and I, we went to college together, and we actually met at college. But the third year of college, we were roommates, so we just kind of got to know each other. And the best part about the third year was we spent most of the first semester at Conestoga. We got all of our stuff done, and then for the second semester, we stayed up super late watching New Japan, All Japan, Memphis Wrestling, Smoky Mountain, anything that we could get our hands on. We'd find tapes, and we did those, those tape exchanges. So we always had something new to watch every single week. We'd look forward to, kind of doing a tape trade, and if it was there, we watched it. So it was just so much fun.
And some people might not realize how hard that was back in the day to find those good matches and tapes. Now you can go to the WB network, you can go to New Japan, you can go to all these independent wrestling.tv, and you can get all these matches. But back in the day, you had to do a tape trade or buy tapes off someone who was trading tapes. Mm-hmm. So I used to do that as well, and it was always great when you got that package in the mail and that new wrestling.
Oh man, and the stuff that you wouldn't normally look for, right? And the gems and everything else. Like I got introduced to people like Nick Bockwinkel and a lot of the rare matches from guys like Haku, and I'm drawing a blank right now. Killer Khan. I saw a rare match with Hulk Hogan and Killer Khan through one of those tape trades that we did. And Killer Khan, man, I bet you if he was around today, he'd be one of the better superstars. I don't know, he just had that look.
So you keep up with stuff today. What is your favorite kind of wrestling going?
My favorite kind? Honestly, anything, semi-old school. My favorite fed growing up was AWA. So I used to love watching guys like Casey, or Al Casey, and Hulk Hogan coming through there, and the matches with Kurt Hennig and Nick Bockwinkel were awesome. I used to love Memphis Wrestling. I don't know if a lot of people know this, but my tag titles are not Memphis Wrestling, Smoky Mountain. They're kind of a playoff of the Smoky Mountain Championships. And a lot of the stuff that Jim Cornette did down there with the Midnight Express and the Rock and Roll Express and the Freebirds and everybody that came through there. You don't have a lot of stuff with regards to territories anymore. So it was always fun to watch the different people. Like you'd have, people that were big stars, and then they'd show up in another territory one week and it'd be like, oh my God, these guys were awesome. So, I miss that. I miss that because that used to be a lot of fun, especially with the Monday Night Wars with WCW and WWE. I've always been a fan of WWE, but there were certain time frames when I'd turn to WCW, especially for their lucha stuff and the stuff that you didn't really get with WWE, because back in those days WWE was more character driven and a little bit cartoony, whereas WCW was more into the reality and kind of trying to blur the lines a little bit. So it was an exciting time. And a lot of the fans today, unless they watch it on tape, they don't get to see that very much. You had so many underrated people. Like you had your Psychosis, you had Ultimo Dragon, you had Eddie Guerrero, you had Dean Malenko, Perry Saturn, Chris Jericho, all those workhorse stars that really and truly didn't get their just what they deserved in WCW, and then you watch them go over to WWE, and it's like, wow, like every single one of those guys ended up being something in WWE. And if it wasn't for WCW, I don't think they would have gotten the exposure. And then especially with Eddie, if you go back to his AAA stuff with Art Barr and everything else, because he's probably in my top 5 for favorite superstars. And just he was, I don't think there's a better storyteller out there than Eddie Guerrero was.
He connected big time with all the fans, and that's what it's all about. And like you were saying, all those guys got time in WCW to learn their trade really well, get exposure, so then when they went to the big fed, they could excel like they did. But speaking of just independent wrestling now, who are your favorite guys to watch?
on the Ontario scene.
Ontario scene, we'll say, just because I think that's the most notable in our area.
Oh wow! I mean, there's so many people. Eddie, oh my goodness, Eric Kearney. He's always a guy that's ready to go and super duper impressive when he's in the ring. Rip Impact, Rex Atkins, yourself. So many different guys. Mr. Atlantis. A lot of the women. Beautiful Bia. Jody Threat. A little bit of a nod to you. Jody Threat and Bia were part of the absolute best match I think I've ever seen in indie wrestling, and it was at a PWA Guelph show with I think it was Josh Alexander and Homicide were part of that four-way as well, and that's I still say that's one of my most favorite matches I've ever seen on an Ontario card.
Very nice. What's one of your favorite matches you've ever managed?
That I've ever managed? Probably one of my most favorite that I really, really learned something from was the one that I did most recently for HWE. I got the chance to manage Congo Kong, who's with Impact, and he faced off against Stone Rockwell, who was the former Asylum from the Flatliners. And that match, just the little things they did, they talked a little bit, but they didn't really go into detail about what they were going to do, and they kept it, basically in the ring. So anything that happened from, the beginning of the match, they wanted a promo. So I ended up cutting a promo and, turned it over to Rockwell, and then Congo comes out, and they just kind of, they played to the crowd, and if they wanted to change something, they would tell me, hey, change it up, or we're doing this. And it was really kind of an interesting situation, because what they did plan, sometimes that doesn't work, but the fans don't really know, right, that they changed something or they had to maybe alter something to make something work out better. And it was just a really kind of a cool situation to be in. I've had a lot of different favorite matches. My matches with Atlantis are always fun. Matches with Eric. The match where we had a match in Brooklyn. I don't know if you remember that, but the match with Buck 10 and I want to say Steve Brown.
Yep.
And speaking of my laugh, going back that way, I laughed during that match, and I think Steve Brown lost his composure for about 10 minutes because he, couldn't stop laughing. And then I kind of realized that, so I was a little bit of a disturber through that match because I just kept doing it. And he kept laughing, so that was fun.
I believe I told you to stop making or laughing like that when you were managing me at one point, one per match.
Yeah. It was funny because you told me to do one thing and I got confused and I was like, oh, all right. So, but you know what? I learn every time I'm at ringside, I learn something new. And every time at ringside, depending on who it's with, I always end up doing something that I never ever thought I could. And, without wrestling, I probably would I wouldn't have that. So I'm super duper thankful for the opportunities.
For some of the people that don't know, you've had some battles with health and whatnot. And a lot of people don't believe you could do, or didn't believe you could do this. And what's your thoughts going in on that now that you have done it? That must make you feel good when a whole bunch of people are saying, no, Nick, no, you can't do this. And then you've been managing now for 10 years.
Growing up, there's a lot of people that told me, hey, you know what, you might be able to do this, but I don't think you could do that. And I was always the type that would say, hey, you know what, you don't think I can do it? I'm going to show you that I can do it. Because I always tried to be kind of an inspiration to, other people that maybe were in my shoes. I have CP, right? So automatically there's a stigma to that. I have Crohn's disease that I got diagnosed with probably about 11 years ago now. And I always just try to, it doesn't bother me. I don't let it bother me. I just do my thing. If there's something I can't do, thankfully there's people that'll, alter things and make it so that, hey, he might not be able to do that, so let's change it up and do this. And then, there's other people that are like, hell yeah, let's do it. He can do it, and I find a way to do it because, it's the respect of the business. You just want to entertain the fans, do whatever you can. If stuff doesn't work, find a better way to do it next time. But you never give up, man. You never give up. And if you'd have told me 10 years ago that I'd be doing this now, I'd probably look at you and be like, man, I don't know, but looking at it now, I'm happy, and I'm just proud to be able to, send people home with something to remember as far as, a match or a show or whatever. And just to be a part of it is awesome for me.
For sure. And you had one heck of a 2019. You had your most outings ever. You had some great shows. What were some of the highlights for you?
19 PWA shows, brother. That was a highlight in itself. And being able to, get together with 3 or 4 guys in a stable where I've never managed before, and just kind of develop that chemistry throughout the entirety of the entire year was awesome. Your last show was phenomenal, bringing back guys like Jesse Jones and Juan Ortiz, and all the guys that I just kind of grew up watching in PWA when I started, and being able to work with them again, that was fun. A lot of the MCW shows, MCW Immortal of this year was phenomenal. We had the first ever women's cage match. And that was fun. And, just some of the people that we were able to get together and bring in and, putting cards together. That's a lot more fun now because I was never, ever that good with, booking talent or booking matches. And I just kind of worked together with that. And I've got my booking notebook now. So I use that. And I've just had a blast this year, being able to come out 19 times for PWA and have my shows and just have people enjoy it, and watching the fan reaction. That's the fun part for me.
For sure. So with a huge 2019 down, what are your goals for 2020?
2020, hopefully more of the same for as 2019, getting out there, being booked, learning, having the opportunity to try new things, and maybe look in on a bigger venue for MCW. The last Immortal that we had, we sold out. It was standing room only, so find a new venue, find sponsors. I think now we're getting to the point where we're big enough to say, hey, you know what, we clear, such and such an amount every single show as far as fans go. This might be something to, put exposure on your business as a sponsor. And that's not something that I've ever been good at is getting sponsors. So that's one main goal for me this year, is to really focus on getting those sponsors and, really focus on bettering myself as a manager. There's always more to learn. And I never ever said that, you got to pay your dues in this business, and I'm never ever going to be done paying my dues, dude. It's just every time I can learn, every time somebody takes a chance on me, I'm super duper thankful. So anything I can do to better myself and make shows better, that's what I'm going to do.
Perfect. And just because we don't want to have a too long an interview, we're going to have you back and we'll talk about more stuff. I just wanted to know, how can people get in touch with you and find out more about MCW?
Best way to get in touch with us would be through Facebook. You can do a quick search for Magnificent Championship Wrestling. We've got a Facebook group as well as a company page. All our event info is on there. If you go to WrestlingMCW.com, we've got our website there, and that has a lot of our roster. It has our events. It has, how to get in touch with us for sponsors. If you want to get in touch with me directly, you can do so through Facebook or through -mcw- at hotmail.ca. And that's pretty much your ways of getting in touch with me. Oh, and I also have Twitter at NickyMartinMCW.com.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for being on here today, and we can't wait to have you back again.
Thank you, sir. And all the best to you in 2020 as well.
Again, thank you everyone for listening to this episode of 365 Pro Wrestling Podcast. Join us tomorrow and join us January 24th at the Kitchener event and January 25th at the Guelph event. 365ProWrestling.com for tickets.